Hey everybody. So we have Curtis Broome with us tonight, and we have some amazing stuff that we're going to get to hear from him. We are get to hear his story, and he's coming to us from Hong Kong, so he's taking some time out of his busy schedule to be with us. And so I am super excited to be able to hear what he has to say.
Is that my cue?
That is your cue. Take it away.
Listen, I got to say, I'm just so happy to be Zooming with you guys. For everybody, this is my first Zoom, so I'm the Zoom baby here. So this is so much fun. It's like I'm sitting here clicking on things and looking around. So if I get distracted, it's just a child in me who feels like I just opened a new present. I can't wait. I'm just gonna figure out somebody to talk to today and sign up for this thing just so I can Zoom them. Anyway, well, it's great to see all of you here on the team who are working so hard while Romy and Mark play in the RV in the middle of the hinterlands of the wilderness. So, you know, I mean, many moment I'm expecting to see Mark in the background, you know, walking through the picture with the you know, the food he just hunted and killed to, you know, let you guys survive out in the wild. But anyway, actually, I think I see Mark here in the group, so he's probably hiding somewhere else. So that's good. But and I know it's been a while since I've been with you guys. I know Lisa's been pitching in. It's been kind of crazy. I've been over here in Hong Kong and having tons of fun. So here's what we wanted to talk about. They'd asked if I could share a little bit about my story, and I said, well, that's interesting that you asked. I actually had a training here in the office yesterday in Hong Kong with a group of folks, and they were all new, and we were new to the profession. And I've got another one today, and part of it was my story. And the reason is that so many people think that in network marketing, what you should do is you should be presenting all these facts. And that's okay. In our profession, what we try and do is we try and move our own heart first, and then we try and move the hearts of others. And I don't want it to sound fluffy and foo-fooey, but the reason that we do that, people who are impassioned versus logically engaged, they accomplish more. If you're doing something that makes sense, you can do it well. If you're doing something that has fiercely grabbed your spirit, you can't be stopped, because there's a power. I mean, you think about Steve Jobs. He ran a company that started in a garage, but he ran it for so long it became, you know, a multi-billion-dollar giant with hundreds of thousands of employees worldwide. And yet you could tell by looking in his eyes, he still ran it not because it made sense to increase shareholder value and expand a product line or market share globally. It wasn't a business logic thing. He, to the day he, you know, was no longer here at all, lived with a passion for what he did. And that's why he made such an impact in the world. And so in network marketing, we'll be talking on a smaller scale, but it's still the same thing. And the reason is it's entirely voluntary. Unlike a job where if you're employed, your employer says, here's when you'll show up, here's what I've decided you're worth, here's what you're going to accomplish so that we can maintain this relationship, here's when you'll go home, here's when you'll eat, here's what your annual bonus is or is not. And if you don't do the job, I'll just remove you and go get somebody else who will do exactly what I say, because that's how that world works. Here, it's entirely voluntary. You can show up when you want, never show up again. You can show up every day. You can show up because it makes sense, or you can show up because your heart's moved. And so let me share a little bit of my story and why I think it's so important you got to get your heart engaged, or everything else is you're ultimately going to fail. I started in this business logically. My background was, I'm 56, headed towards 57, was introduced to it when I was 29 years old, almost 30. I had started my first businesses in my mid-20s. I studied engineering in college and had scholarships for it because I was a very anal retentive math and numbers guy. But I also had scholarships for drama. So I must be psychotic. I enjoy people, and I love the thrill of just engaging with people, and I enjoy the experience of meeting and just being a part of the human race. But I also knew math and numbers. I dropped out of college because I chose the engineering scholarships because, after all, who makes money acting? And I realize now, just for the sheer fun of it, I wish I'd taken acting classes instead of engineering classes. And I dropped out because I may know what 2 + 2 is, but it doesn't mean that that's passion. And when I moved into the business world, though, the traditional business world, in my mid-20s and started some of my own businesses, they worked because they made sense, and I became very good at selling. Selling is a very skilled art. Selling is the art of making people not feel they're being sold. Selling is an art. It's a craft. It's a skill that is very elite and very few possess it, or it's a skill that can be learned, but it takes very dedicated, focused effort to build your craftsman's skill so that you can take someone through a conversation that is really a presentation to them that they don't feel they're being pitched or presented to. It takes them through a process of now believing you, trusting you, engaging in the information so you can take it to a point of close, and you affect the result. You close them. You handle the objections, and you do so in a presentation. The most skilled do it in a way they don't feel like their objections are being handled. They feel like their questions are being answered, and you drive a result. And I was in a sales and marketing business, so I had to do that. And so I learned how to manipulate the circumstance for the benefit I felt of both, because I believed in what I was selling, but still, I didn't almost give people a choice. I moved them into that. That's what skilled salespeople do. And when I saw network marketing, I thought, okay, I've got products, I sell those. I've got a business, I sell that. And I get people to do things. And by getting them to do things, then they get people to do things, they get people to do things, they get people to do things. And that's not the way it works. The reality is most people hate sales, they hate being sold, and they hate selling. That's just not it. And so it breaks down to this. If you want to be significantly successful financially, so let's talk about success is defined by each of us differently. But if you want to be significantly successful financially, you can't make a lot of money in network marketing. You can't make it. You have to build it, and you build it by building teams. There is no single effort. You can't move enough of your product to become wealthy. You can't do that. If you want to become wealthy moving product, selling product, then go sell homes in Beverly Hills, because you're going to have to sell big dollar things where every single transaction could almost nearly make you wealthy. You can't sell consumer goods. You can't sell skincare. You can't sell oils. You can't sell nutrition by yourself and make a significant money. It's going to make an impact in your family's life. You build teams, and therefore you're going to engage others. And even if you choose to sell, it doesn't mean others will. In fact, most won't. So here's what happened to me. I got involved in network marketing simply because I went to a meeting because a friend pestered me so long. I said, if I go, will you leave me alone? He said, yes. At the end of the meeting, he said, what do you think? I said, I think it's time to go. I've come, I've seen, I'm going. Like I said, now let's move on. And he said, you're a sales and marketing guy. This is just an alternative form of marketing. I think you ought to register, enroll, and try one of these just for the education alone. And I thought to myself, here's what happened. My logical engineering brain kicked in. I said, I can't fight that argument. You're right. I'll do this purely educationally, not for any passionate reason, not even really logical reason. You're right. Okay, I'll learn something here. And that's how I got started. Very quickly, I found that you succeeded by team building, and because I actually loved engaging with people, that attracted me. The problem was, I also then logically looked at this as I sell product, I sell opportunity, I sell. I can do this. I'll be really successful at this. And I signed up tons of people. I set enrollment records in the first couple of companies I was in. Why did was the first couple of companies? Because when I had no success and my team wasn't growing in the first company, I figured it had to be the company or the product. So I went to a second company. I didn't really leave the first company. It just kind of went dormant. And I went to a second company and I started building it. And I sponsored 50 people in the first month on a $3,000 package. Why? Because I know how to sell. And so boom. And they said, wow, you're a champion. You're going to be awesome. And 6 months later, there was no team there of any size. And so I went back to the first company and continued to fail there. And after 2 years of failure, and the reason is I wouldn't listen to my leadership. I wouldn't listen to anybody. After all, this is that silly little thing my grandmother did with plastic bowls in the living room with her friends to go stick in the refrigerator. How hard could this be? And so I just assumed that I could figure out, and I was smarter than everybody. And after all these 60 or 70 years of these stupid things they talked about, conversation and focusing and, heart and spirit and stuff. Oh, come on, I can logically make this work. I had failed and I was going to quit. So you're looking at a guy who's been in the profession for 27 years that on his own was a miserable failure. So please understand, my success today is not because I was very good. I was not very good. I was horrific. I was personally terrible. And at a moment when I was going to quit, I met someone who was fortunately aggressively, monstrously, almost painfully, brutally blunt. Didn't care about my sweet, rosy, fuzzy feelings, pretty much grabbed me by the throat, kicked me squarely in the butt, and said, shut up and listen and do exactly what you're told, or get out and don't ever come back. But because it's just time to stop playing this game. And I finally said, okay, I'll shut up and listen. And all of a sudden, I started learning things that in reflection and in retrospect later, it's what the leadership had been telling me the day I enrolled that I didn't want to listen to. I felt it was selling, and it's not. See, people say, oh, I need to get more customers. No, you don't. You should never get a customer. I need to get more team members. No, you shouldn't get more team members. What I learned through finally paying attention to mentors is you need to stop getting and you need to start giving. It needs to stop being logical, and it has to be emotionally empowered. Because here is the truth. Whether it sounds fluffy or not, that'll be your interpretation. But 25 years later, after having no success and building no income for 2 years, 4 or 5 months after I started really paying attention, I'd built an income to $10,000 a month, but I hadn't built it. I'd built a team. And I built a team of people who were like-minded, like-spirited. And I will tell you that many of the people who I attracted and enrolled, because I forced it to happen, I made it happen, I got them first, I sold them during the first 2 years, were not the type of people that were attracted to my new team. It wasn't that I set them behind, it's just I realized I was getting people who could be gotten instead of giving people who chose. See, network marketing is about giving people the chance to make a choice. And the only way you can do that is you give from a spirit, a servant heart of giving information, you give truth, and you give things that now, because people are informed, it gives them a chance to choose. And you stop being concerned about their choice, because just because someone does not choose the path you've chosen doesn't mean they've made a wrong decision. It's just not their time to choose what you've chosen, or it will never be their time. This isn't for them. See, the reality is, don't go out and think that doTERRA is for everybody. It's not. There is no company in the world. Network marketing is not for everybody. I believe the products that we offer usually could benefit anybody and everybody, but still many, maybe even most, won't try them. And if they do try them, they won't remain with them. Most people don't use Colgate. Most people don't use Crest. They spend billions of dollars on advertising. And most people don't choose either of them because there are so many choices. And most people will not do network marketing. Bill Brett, one of the best in the world, said in his 50-year career where he made multiple, massive tens of millions of dollars, built one of the largest global organizations with Amway, he said, these were his numbers. He personally, now he spoke to hundreds and probably millions of people if you added up all the people at each event he ever spoke with over his 50 years. But personally, one-on-one, he presented his plan to 1,200 people. 900 said no. 75% said no. That's the number. You know, Jim Rohn said if you're bad when you get started, maybe 1 out of 10. If you get better and really pretty good, maybe 2 out of 10. If you get great, it'll be 3 out of 10. Well, okay, Bill Brett was great. He had 2.5 out of 10 said yes. So the reason it's important, here's what I learned. When I finally started listening, what my mentor said, he said, Curtis, if you want to make a lot of money, you're going to need a large team. In order to get a large team, you can't do it by yourself. You have to become qualified to lead a team. And someone who is leading is only leading if others are following, and people are only following if you're worthy of being followed. And because network marketing is something that people can choose to do, you can't force them to do. They're not employees. Then you need to lead by giving, not getting. You need to lead by giving a choice so that you can lead those who have chosen, not been manipulated, sold, and directed and coerced, even if it was subtle coercion, into doing what you think they should do. Instead, give. He said you can give to thousands in the same amount of time it takes you to try and get from only a few, because the effort it takes to get is so intense. You'll only have, in the same period of time it will take you just to get a few to do something, you could give hundreds an opportunity to make a choice. He said it's also more respectful. It's also more it's more serving, because if you truly give, most people feel they don't have a choice. Most people haven't had a choice because what they did is the choices they made were because they were the only options they thought they had. You know, they got out of high school. Most people never finish college or even go. He said, so most just did the next thing. I just have to survive. So what was the first job at the convenience store, at the gas station? Or every sequential step in their life was just what they felt were the only choices they had. They don't feel they've ever had one. Just think about it. You could be possibly one of the first circumstances since their high school years that maybe they felt they were given a choice. But respect them as human beings and allow them to make it. And if they choose not to use your product, love yourself for having been a servant enough you gave them an opportunity to choose. but work with those who chose to be the consumer of your product, and then give them a chance to see something that could change their financial future, and work with those who choose to join you in that process. Don't try and force those that you've got doing it. Here's what happened. He said, it really comes down to this, and this is what Lisa and I have taught. One of the reasons that we teach the things we do, and if you'll go back through some of the Hangout recordings and all the other things that we've done with the team, one of the things we first started with was a conversation about a technique called hot market. The hot market was about someone beginning their business as a brand new network marketer for the first time. If you've done network marketing in multiple companies before and you've come to doTERRA and this team, because it may not have ever worked in a significant way with you, you just didn't find that place that it all clicked, but you love the concept, then that's great. We don't have to build it for you because you've fallen in love with the profession. You just need to find the right mechanism and the right team and the right process to get over the top. And if you're someone who has succeeded before and you've come to doTERRA because you see something here you've never seen before and you really like this the most, that's great. That's perfect for you. But if you're here for the very first time, and this is the first time you've ever encountered network marketing, we have to create things for you because you've got the most uncertainty and the least amount of, you've got the most hope, and hope is not really a good thing. Hope is, gee, oh, I hope what they said really is true, and I hope that I'm not going to fall completely on my face and look like an idiot, and I hope they didn't just scam me and take my money, and I hope this isn't really one of those pyramid things, and I hope. Hope is not a good thing. I now know and believe it's not a scam. I can do this, though I'm not very good right now and really have no clue what I'm doing, but I now can see that it is something I will be able to learn with a moderate amount of effort over time if I'm part-time, or a little bit quicker if I put in more time. I now believe that these people really do have my future and my success in their heart and their spirit. And I believe they are servant leadership, and I believe the company really is great, and I believe these products do good. When you move hope into belief, and then uncertainty, I have no idea if I can do this. Yes, I was a champion Wall Street floor trader, and I've made billions of dollars, and then the market collapsed and everything fell apart, and I almost became homeless for a minute. But I still know I am capable of accomplishing great things I've done in the past. I just have no certainty that I could actually do this. But if you can move uncertainty into confidence, and most importantly, trust. And here's why. He said, Curtis, if you want to make a lot of money, if you want to create a new financial destiny for your family, you'll need a big team. In order to do that, you have to lead the team. And you can't do it by yourself. So you have to become a leader. You have to become a servant mentor, and you have to develop servant mentors. Then when you've developed enough servant mentors, and by servant mentors, they are people who have learned to do, then they learn to coach, and then they learn to coach coaches. He said, when that happens, then all of a sudden the mentorship and the coaching within your team grows. It's not just that the team grows, it's servant-minded mentor coaches, and that mentality begins to permeate, and more people start to step into the role, not for their own glory, but because they truly have said, I have an opportunity to create a better world when I'm done here than when I started, because I am going to serve it. I'm not going to try and, manipulate it for my gain. My gain will come from truly giving value to others. And when that happens, that's when you go into these growth patterns. And so the reason we start with hot market is I take a brand new person. I know that they have hope, which is not a good thing. And I know they have uncertainty, which is not a good thing. And I need to move them into belief and confidence, which yields trust. Because if you're in Romy Clark's team, she can tell you her story, and you've heard it many times. She went from complete distrust or disbelief and a total lack of certainty in her ability to go beyond a very minimal level for her and Mark. But she's now reached a point 3.5, almost 4 years later, where she has no limit to her belief, and she has no limiting beliefs as to what she and Mark are capable of and what the team is capable of. But that took time. She started in a disbelieving, limiting belief situation, but at least she started. And she was able to, however it happened, she was able to do things that created small enough successes that were not significant by any standard that would create a reward or some plaque or pin or certificate or name on a stage at a national convention. But they were the little bitty success steps that started moving hope and uncertainty into a little bit of belief and trust. And then slightly larger expectation. Well, now I made $500, maybe I could make 1,000 a month. And now I made 1,000. Well, a few months later, maybe I could make 1,500. And all these little incremental steps. So it doesn't mean it's going to be overnight, but these little incremental steps suddenly led to an expanded belief to where all of a sudden she now realizes that the reality, the real truth, not her truth, fear, which is what holds most people back, is false evidence appearing real. Or, as Lisa said, it's effed up emotional. Oh gosh, it's so hysterical. I'll have to let Lisa do it. It's anyway, it's whatever it is. It's just hysterical. Her definition of fear. But the traditional one that they use, the acronym, is false evidence appearing real. The false evidence that appeared real for Romy was that it's not possible, and all these income stories are ridiculous. They've got to be inflated, and this is or a few did it, but the masses, whatever. Now she has no fear because what she's now realized is the truth, not the false evidence. The truth was that on day one, there was no limitation to what could be done. The limitation was in her mind. And that's what it is. You're limited in terms of achieving real result because you need a large team to do that. But there's no any one person. And so it takes that time. Because if you convert from getting, I got tremendous enrollment results very rapidly, but I never, ever in my first 2 years had any team growth because only I was capable of doing. What I was doing, 95%, 98% were not capable of doing. And what my mentor said is, Curtis, you need to stop doing things publicly that only you are capable of doing. Now, there will be things in your career only you're capable of doing. Just like there are things only Romy can do, things only Iris can do, Corinna. We all have things that only we are capable of doing because we are unique creatures and God blessed each of us with certain things that were unique to us and only you'll be able to do it. He said, Curtis, you need to not do the things that you're personally capable of doing publicly. Do them privately. If there's something you can do privately that you don't teach, but it's just something that gives you an edge, that's great. But publicly, you need to do those things that everybody can do because people emulate. And in network marketing done properly is like newborn children. The way they learn to speak is they're in the presence of people speaking. Newborn children, they don't even have the ability to make noises they control. They just make noise. Why? Because we're making noises. The adults make noise. So a newborn baby at some point starts to make noise. The natural one is to cry because it's upset. And then they find out the more you cry, if you're wet or you're hungry, you'll get service. So they learn that noise can create a result, but they can't form a specific noise. And then as they go through their first few months, they start making noises that even make them laugh at themselves. They start moving their mouth, tongue, lips, cheeks in ways they suddenly begin to realize they can actually create different noises if they shape their mouth in different ways. They can't form words, but they can control noise making. Then all of a sudden, they're just in your presence. They are hearing you speak and hearing you speak and hearing you speak until one day they make a noise that mimics yours and they go, mama, da, da. That's how children learn. They don't listen for 15 years, becoming fluent mentally, and then make their first noise in a fluent delivered speech. They engage in action with no ability, with horrific result, and they refine the action over time until one day they speak fluently and they're eloquent as the valedictorian giving the commencement address at the graduation. The problem in network marketing is when we were children, we engaged. Children learn to walk by seeing people walking, and they can't even sit up until one day they learn how to roll over on their tummy. Then they learn how to sit up without falling down. Then they learn how to sit up, roll over, and crawl. Then they learn how to grab something and stand up and fall and stand up. They learn how to grab something and they can stand there stably. Then they take steps and fall until one day they walk. They don't sit there and watch, and 15 years later, they take off and run a race. The problem is the minute we enter the educational system, our educational system from day one teaches us learn first, do second. Learn first, do second. And the typical job world says learn first, do second. I'm not going to give you the hammer and tell you to go build a house. You've got to learn first, then we'll give you your toolkit, and then you go build. Here's the problem. Network marketing needs to be like newborn children. You need to engage in action because only in the engagement in action will ever hope turn to belief, will ever uncertainty turn to confidence and trust. Only through action. And the problem is we think that if and we've learned through our system by the time we're adults, if we commit an action that does not create the desired result, it's a failure. And pardon my language, and I apologize for French, that's bullshit in network marketing. In real life, if you want to be successful here, that's not the truth. The truth is engaging in action is the success. There will be no success without engagement. And here's what I'll tell you. If you attempt to learn the product and learn the comp plan and learn the process before you engage, you'll fail. You need to quit and remain a doTERRA product consumer and stop doing network marketing. So if you're new to network marketing and you've decided you're going to learn first and do second, quit now. Because you're going to fail. Why waste time? Let's get to it, and why don't you leave? It'll be less frustrating for you, and you'll lead less people down the wrong path. If you will stop learning and then doing, and if you'll start doing and learn from the doing, you can crush it. And the reason is simple. Stop getting, start giving. Go out with a giving heart and say, the only thing I want to do from a product standpoint is give people the opportunity to try the product. You cannot get a customer. Let me tell you the truth about consumer products. Consumer products not sold, they're tried. They're marketed. That's why it's called network marketing. Marketing gets you to try inexpensive things. Cars have to be sold because they're very expensive. Houses have to be sold because they're very expensive. The large 80-inch plasma that is now $12,000, that has to be sold because that's much more expensive than little $300 Costco 38-inch. So expensive things have to be sold. That's where skilled salespeople come in, and that's why salespeople are paid so much money, because their skill is extraordinary, and it's a high dollar item, and they make a lot of money through that limited elite skill that only a few possess. You do not see anybody anywhere selling Colgate or Crest toothpaste. Those are marketed. Marketing is print or media, or the person next door who said, wow, I just tried the new Colgate toothpaste. I love it to death. Or it's your network marketing neighbor who introduced you to an organic toothpaste that their company provides, and they marketed it to you. There is no way to sell a $60 product at $80. It's just not expensive enough. Marketing creates interest. Interest causes people to buy it and try it. The product experience creates the customer, doesn't. So take the pressure off. Your job is not to get customers. Your job is to give people only enough marketing information to pique their interest to try a product. Once they try, the quality of the doTERRA product will secure them as the customer or not. And understand, not everybody's going to continue to be a customer, so don't be upset by it. Your job is to serve others, to give them an opportunity to try the product, buy it, try it, and let the product do its path, do its work. Then it comes to the opportunity. Your job is to give people an opportunity to make a choice about whether or not they might like to see a plan, a business plan, a team plan, or a model that if they chose to engage and become a part of a team of great people, they could affect their financial future. You do that by connecting with them as human beings, and you do that through conversation. So let's step back for a second. My story was I tried to sell and get. I was very successful at getting, and I failed at building teams. When I was going to quit, I learned to give. I stopped caring about what the other person chose. I only cared that I served them by honestly, sincerely, with ethics, with integrity, with honesty, and with character, and with true care and concern and focus for them, gave them the information that could give them an opportunity to make a choice, not caring at all what their choice is. That's network marketing. Divorce the result, which is incredibly difficult as an adult when our entire educational life from 6 to 20s and our work life from the 20s on to whatever it is, when our entire life has taught us to learn first, do second, and don't ever judge your efforts. We don't care how hard you work. We only care what your results were, to network marketing, which is the only thing you should focus on are your efforts. And you should become better and better through effort. Don't become better and then put forth effort. There is no failure in network marketing. There is a moment where you've put forth an effort and you have not achieved the desired result at that time. That is not a failure. That is how children learn to talk. That's how they learn to walk. They go into action, not achieving the desired result, but moving closer to it. You go out and talk to 100 people in different ways because you talk to the second one differently than the first, and the third one different than the second, the fourth one different than the third, and the fifth one different than the fourth, because every single time you talk and engage with people, marketing your product, you will become better at marketing your product. You engage in action, and your results come because of your commitment to the effort. Do not learn and do and learn because you did. Any other way, and you will fail. When it's time to share the opportunity, learn how to engage in conversation. Talk to them first about them. There will be people after talking with them you do not present your opportunity to because they're already on a path. Don't try and assert yourself out of self-serving greed. Honor and respect their path and wish them well on it and move on to someone else who is hopelessly on no path, desperately wondering where in their life they could find a path. And if you would not have wasted your time trying to manipulate the person already on a different path, and it's a good path for them, and if you walked away, you would have seen this other person who had you continue to waste your time manipulating that one, they would have walked by, and instead redirect yourself to the person who is in need. And talk to them about themselves. Find out where they are. Ask them the 3 magic questions that we have talked previously, that people can go back to previous recordings and see. Are you happy and content and satisfied with where you are in life and what you're providing for yourself and those you love? And if not, theme number 2, do you have a plan? And if not, would you want to see one that might give you all those things? And I'm not going to teach it to you because I'm new to it. Let me introduce you to an expert who is helping me right now, and let you learn from them to see if you think it's a good plan for you or not. And it's probably not for you, by the way, but only you will know. Let me give you a chance to learn from someone better than me to see if it's a good decision for you, but I'll leave that choice to you. That's how network marketing works. And if you build your business that way, you'll have fewer results this week. Because if you're a good salesperson, you can sell everybody and get them all. I did. But you will get no results long term because that is not something that people can then duplicate and emulate. When I stopped doing things that only I could do publicly and I started doing things that everybody can do, care more about the other person than yourself because your result comes from caring about them. Giving them the right information the right way. Don't give them all the product detail. Give them the DVD. Give them the brochure. Give them the online video to go watch. Give them the opportunity to meet the product expert on the team. You don't give the actual information. You give them an opportunity to get the information, to receive the information, not to get gotten, but give them the opportunity to receive the information so that from an informed position, they can choose to try the product. They can choose to become a customer if their product experience is a positive one. Give them the opportunity to receive the information, not from you, from others, from the system, from the tools, because that is duplicable. Because here's the thing. Romy and I, if we were both into Tara, there is no way she could ever present this product the way I do. I didn't say she couldn't present it as good as I do. There's no way she could ever present it the way I do. And there's no way I could ever present it the way she does, because she's her and I'm me. But we could both point people to the same, we could both point people to Iris or Corinna, and they would all, then everybody I pointed would see the same information in the same way every time. Therefore, there's consistency of process. Marrying consistent process means that now I can measure result that I can adjust. Because now I may realize, if I send them to this DVD before I send them to Iris, all of a sudden my results go up because it's easier for Iris. See, Iris, she's the team expert, except Iris is never the team expert on product for her prospects. She sends them to the DVD and then Romy or I, because she can do that with every one of her people with perfect precision. But she can't do it, give it directly, because then everybody else thinks they have to be like her, and nobody else in the world can be like Iris when she talks about product. See, it is creating an environment where there is perfect consistency. It's not about being perfect yourself. It's not about learning and then doing. It's about doing something that creates perfect consistency. And the way you do that is you learn to give people a chance to receive information to be able to make a choice. That's called marketing. And so you market to your network. That's what network marketing is. You market to your network the opportunity to be a consumer by getting information, choosing to try a product or not, then based on the product experience, choosing to remain a consumer of the product or not. And you don't worry about what their choice is. That's not your job. The product's job is to gather them as a consumer long term. Your job is to give them an opportunity to try it. With regard to the business, it's about engaging with people and having conversations about them and where they are to find out if they're happy and content in life. And if they are, then wish them well, love them, share with them why they should try a product that might even make them a little more happy and content, but don't get them off their path and find someone who's desperately seeking a path. If they are happy, if they're not happy and content, find out if they have a plan. Most people aren't happy and content because they don't have a plan. And if they're not, and when they're not, and you confirm that, really you're letting them confirm it for themselves, then ask if they would be willing to take a moment to take a look at a plan that probably isn't for them. But you wouldn't know that, only they would. And let me show you that plan by giving you a few pieces of standard information, a DVD and a brochure or whatever it is. And then let me introduce you to an expert mentor who helps people learn more about the plan to answer all their questions to find out if it's the right plan for them or not. And understand whatever you choose is fine, because if it's not the right plan for you, which it probably isn't, then you're at least in the plan seeking mode, and I wish you well in your life as you go find the plan that is right for you, because you deserve to be happy. But if when you're done, you decide it is the plan for you, then we welcome you to our team, because all of us are here to help you as a team, because that's what we do. We work together for all of our success, not just individual success. That's network marketing. And the only way to be good is what I did is I finally stopped thinking I knew what it needed to be. I learned the products because I was a sales guy. Salespeople have to know their product like it was their own. I mean, they have to know it as if they created it. They have to know it so well it's intuitively, instinctively, so when I talk to you about it, it doesn't feel like you're being sold or pitched. I have to understand the financial model of the car or the house or the financial model if I'm going to be a salesperson so well that you don't feel that I'm selling you on the financial model. I'm just casually engaging you. We're becoming friendly, and it feels like I love and care about you, so I can manipulate you into the result I want. In network marketing, that's not what we do. I don't want people on my team who were gotten, because they're going to unget themselves. Why would we all have wasted our time? I want people on my team who chose, and understand many people who choose will then unchoose relatively quickly. Okay, but at least they chose. They'll probably unchoose not nearly as fast as the people who are going to unget themselves. And so that's what network marketing is. There are so many of the 7.2 billion people on the planet. There are such a vast majority who feel so desperately lost with no opportunity, with no choice, that if you'll stop trying to manipulate and get and start trying to serve and give, your business will expand so much faster. And that was my story. And so now in the last 25 years, I got to 10,000 a month in 4 or 5 months just because I started giving at light speed. I decided, great, I get it now. I now get it. I understand it. I'm going to give hundreds the opportunity to look at, try, and evaluate a product, look at, try, and evaluate a model, leaving it up to them to choose. And I'm going to be able to talk to hundreds in a short time because I'm not going to give them the information. I am now going to be a team member. I have upline leadership, and I have other systems, and I have tools. I'm not going to start talking about all of the products myself because that's what my sales mentality made me want to do. I don't care if I know nothing about the product. I'm just going to ask, is there a brochure? Is there a video? Is there an expert here who does trainings on Wednesday? Great. I'm going to send everybody to Wednesday night training and say, if you want to learn about the product, read the brochure, watch this video, and show up on Wednesday. And if you can't show up this one, show up the next, because I'm not the product expert here, talk to them. Even if I was the product expert, that's how I built my business from that point forward. So I taught my people, you don't have to be a product expert to build a business. You have to be a product introducer. You don't have to understand the comp plan. You need to be a compensation model introducer. And when those things happen, I went from 10,000 a month, I was at 20,000 a month in the first 12 to 15 months. It never made less sense. And I built huge teams globally, and I built organizations in over 30 countries around the world. I've been a president of multiple companies. I'm a president of a company that we're starting and launching here. And yet, I still think like a field leader because that's what I really am. And Romy's just a great friend of Lisa's and ours, and we've been working with the team here for a while because we just enjoy doing it. And so here was my story. I'm not a smart guy, and I'm not that good because I failed on my own. When I stopped realizing that not achieving a result that I'd hoped for at that moment was not failure, but it was a great step in, like a child learning how to speak and walk, it was just a learning process. And the magic of the moment was I had one more presentation of possibility to give a choice, or one more, process that I'd gone through, so I was better than before I began it. And I no longer looked at it as a failure. It was just more of the growth of me on the path. And when I began to have that attitude, so did my whole team. When my whole team had that attitude, we all started giving faster and giving to more people in shorter periods of time, because we wanted to serve them, leaving the choice to them. And when that happened, all the results grew. And the final thing then is this. In your own company, what you do is you work within your team and you create what's called the brick, or the building block. So I asked Romy earlier, what is really the first rank of not massive significance, but at least some significance? You had to put in some kind of an effort to get there. And she said, it's really elite. I said, that's it. If you want to go all the way to the very top, doTERRA, Here's the secret. Stop getting, start giving. Give people the opportunity to gather information and make a choice about becoming a product trying consumer into letting the product, making them a customer. Stop getting and start giving people an opportunity to get information after you've learned that in their heart they really do. They're searching for the opportunity to have choices in their life, even if it's part-time, and then give them an opportunity to gather information, not given by you, but directed by you, directing them to it by you, and others, not you, who will answer their questions while you just listen and learn. Learn how to do that, and then finally realize that your focus is to help enough people that enough people choose. Most won't, some will. 30% will choose to join the business, 70% will say no. Most will choose to try, many will choose to try the product, most won't choose to remain consumers of the product. Just let it fall where it may, because if you start giving to hundreds and hundreds over the next year, trust me, you'll have a big team. And then if your focus is to give what you need to give to all that you can so that you can achieve the status of elite, that's all you have to do to go to the top of the doTERRA plan. Why? Simple. In network marketing, you do and you do and you do until you have done successfully, whatever it is that you're attempting. You continue to do and do and do the giving of people information and opportunity to make a choice to try the product. One day you become really good at doing that. You do and do through action, giving people after having the conversations that help you understand that they really are seeking, and then giving them the opportunity to just make the choice to look, and then putting them in a process of seeing, not where the information not given by you, but you direct them to it, to where you get really good at that. Here's what happens. Once you do successfully, you now know how. It's the way a child trying to ride a bicycle without training wheels keeps falling and falling. All they have to do is that one time finally find that balance center point and actually be able to pedal the bicycle. Wobbly a little bit, sure, but they've now experienced and felt the sensation of a centered balance point over a bicycle, where even though it's wobbly, they now have figured out, oh my gosh, this is what it feels like. The minute that happens, you'll get better at it, but you now know how to do it. From that moment forward, you are capable of teaching people to ride bicycles, because you now know exactly where they need to get to be able to now teach other people how to ride bicycles. Here's what it is. The reason elite is so critical, how do you get to diamond and blue diamond and beyond? You get to elite. That's it. That's all you got to do. Because once you've gotten to elite, you will build through every other rank by committing to being a servant mentor for the rest of your life, and all you will teach is how to become elite. And you will teach others, once they become elite, how to teach others to become elite. And you do that by teaching a brand new person how to engage in a hot market. The hot market system is not about to make a lot of money. It's not even about getting back an initial expense. It's about giving somebody an action that if they follow it precisely, it works 100% of the time for 100% of the people. The only time it doesn't work is if they literally don't follow it precisely, okay? The only reason we do that, we've always recommended do that first. It's not because it creates this big magical result that is earth-shattering. It takes hope to belief and uncertainty to confidence and trust. When someone trusts you, you now have the time that it takes to engage with them, to walk them along the path, to create great positive results. And when that happens, their belief now begins to permeate others. And when that happens, you wake up one day and you're a blue diamond sitting in your RV out in the beautiful hinterlands of who knows where it is, having a great time on Zoom conferences with crazy, wacky people from Hong Kong. So there you go. That was my story. I failed on my own because I wasn't smart. When I finally shut up and listened to truly capable mentors who I realized later were saying the same things that my mentors had said from day one that I refused to listen to. When I finally listened, learning what others were much smarter at than me, all I've ever done since is do what they taught me to do and teach what they taught me and teach what they taught me to teach. That's it. So everything I teach, none of this I made up. I was not smart enough to figure it out. The only thing I've become is a great regurgitator of knowledge that was given to me. That's it. I'm not smart. I'm not bright. I'm not special. Anybody can do what I'm doing. It's what Romy does. She takes what she's learned through action and she teaches what she knows. That's it. So you don't have to be unique. There is no special skill. There is no educational background. There's no socioeconomic background. There's nothing it requires other than a willingness to learn and do, or not learn then do, but learn through the act of doing, and do so with a servant heart. That's it. That's all it is. That's my story. That's how I got to where I am. I stopped getting, I started giving, and I learned by doing, not learned and then did. And there's network marketing in a thumbnail. So there you go.
Well, I think you're a great regurgitator.
That's it. I just learned it and spit it out.
There isn't a time that I listen to that I don't get inspired, and I don't just love it. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is, do you think that more often than not, people usually start at that getting stage, and it's that kind of learn by?
Absolutely. Here's almost everyone does that. And so here's the challenge for a team. If you want to help, it's all, people, I think, where they go is determined by how they start sometimes. And so here's what my mentor here's literally the conversation that I had. The individual who took me by the throat and said, either shut up and listen or get out. We went to a 2-hour lunch. That's where our relationship started. And I don't need all the details of that. It's a really funny story. But one of the things he said at lunch, he said, Curtis, he said, the reason you're failing, you don't understand the business. He said, let me tell you what happens for brand new people starting network. Because he said, you have to create things for brand new people doing network marketing for the very first time. And he said, let me tell you what the challenge is. He said, I'm going to share with you a statistic, and it's appalling. He said, but it's probably not going to change much. He said, on my team, we've adjusted it a little bit. And you don't have to make dramatic adjustments. If an industry average is 20% of something that you want to have happen and you adjust your team to be 25%, you are crushing it. You don't go from 25 to 75, that doesn't happen. But if the industry trend is 25% do this, and you get your team to get to 30, you're killing it. And so as he said, here's the truth. 60% of brand new people who enroll in network marketing for the very first time will quit within 90 days. Now let's think about that for a second. They quit in 90 days. Let's just use some adult, let's not be children here, let's just use some adult common sense. Who on the planet could do anything for the very first time in their life and think they should be success capable and qualified in 90 days? You get a job as a bank teller. Who thinks they're going to be a really great bank teller in 90 days compared to the person who's done it for 2 years next to you? I mean, that's just adult common sense. Why in the world would somebody quit in 90 days? He said, here's another interesting statistic. If you look at a team that is growing, and if you could go out and look at the team growth, my team grew by 10 members this month, 100 members this month, 1,000 members this month, whatever it is. He said the statistic is that 80% of the new enrollees in the team were introduced to your world, your environment, however it happened, by a brand new person. Okay, and why aren't the experienced people introducing? Because the experienced people are spending all their time training and coaching and mentoring now. They don't have enough time anymore to introduce people, because I can go look for a new person, or here's a brand new person asking me for help because they just introduced 3, and I need to do that because they're not good enough to do anything with them yet, because I told them, you don't have to be good, just introduce, I'll take it. So that's why 80% in a properly running team, 80% of brand new people are introduced by a brand new person who doesn't have a clue what's going on. They're supposed to be like children, learning by being in the presence of those who know what they're doing. And 60% of brand new people are going to quit in 90 days. So he said, I just want you to understand, Curtis, your future success, if you want to build a big success, 80% of your future success is in the hands of people who are about to quit in 90 days. How comfortable does that make you feel about the future of your business? He said, so here's a question. If it's been that way for 60 years, why is it that way? How is it conceivably possible that we allow a situation to arise where 60% of the people think after 90 days they should quit? He said, simple. Why did they quit? We mismanaged the expectation. He said, let me tell you why people quit in 90 days. There's only one reason they quit. And he said, that is their fear became greater than their excitement. And he said, there's only 2 things that people fear that cause them to quit in 90 days that fast. They have a fear of talking to other people because they don't want to look stupid. Nobody wants to look like an idiot. They don't understand the products, and they know they don't understand the products. They know they don't understand the compensation plan and the business model, and therefore they have a fear of talking to anybody because they don't want to look stupid. And if you don't talk to people in this business, you will have no success. He said, but here's the question. Why did we ever allow them to think that they should be talking to people about the product or the business model? It was not their job. This is a team. A brand new person, everybody on the team has a role. It's not their role to talk to people about the product and the business. It's their role to give people an opportunity to get information that they don't give, that they instead direct them to. How did you possibly allow a person in their 90 days not understand it wasn't their job to do those things they feel uncomfortable doing? It should be their job to do those things they feel very comfortable doing, they love doing, they enjoy doing, they have fun doing, they laugh, they're having so much fun doing it. Why didn't you have them do that instead? He said, and the other thing they fear massively is people saying no. Because they're so new, it causes them to doubt their decision, and so they quit. He said, Curtis, most people should say no. You know that. You're the leader. Most people should say no to the product because most people don't say yes to Colgate toothpaste, and they have billions of dollars of marketing out there. So they're just kind of talking to their friends and folks. What makes you think that most people will say yes to the doTERRA product? Because most won't. Most won't say for yes to my product. And why would they think that why do they not understand? Most people should say no. 7 out of 10 should say no to the business. So why didn't you inoculate them from those fears? He said, here's the reason they quit is you didn't protect them from the fears. He said, the way you protect somebody from fears, he said, you got to do it fast. He said, it's like this, the old analogy. Somebody's in the wrong part of town, the wrong time of day or night or whatever, and a gunshot goes off and they get hit in the gut with the bullet. And 4 days later in intensive care in the hospital, they die. They were dead when the trigger was pulled. It just took 4 days for it to happen. That's network marketing. A brand new person enrolls, they're dead if you don't save their life. And if you don't inoculate them from those fears, they're going to die. 60% are going to do it within 90 days. And he said, here's the truth. I think you only have a limited amount of time to inoculate them from those fears. And I said, how long? He said, an hour. He said, I think you got the first hour. He said, so you get there. Why? Because they're at the presentation. They're at the meeting and they get massively excited and they enroll. And within the hour after they leave the meeting and get home and they get the questions from the spouse or anything else, or the questions creep into their mind, or overnight they're now terrified. Oh my God, what did I do? Why did I do this? I can't believe this. Everybody's going to make fun of me. This pyramid stuff. What was I possibly thinking about? That really talented person in the front of the room drew the circles. Oh my God, I had a psychotic break and I pulled out my credit card. Oh, good Lord. That's what's going through their mind. He said, you got to protect them from that. And you have an hour. He said, why didn't you do it right there at the meeting? Why didn't you do it right then? Why didn't you get them on a call? Why didn't you, when they enrolled online, why didn't you immediately engage with them? And he said, so let me ask you a question. Do you believe that in 1 hour you can teach someone how to present a product so well that they have such confidence and faith they no longer have a fear of presenting the product? And I said, no. He said, well, then don't teach them to talk about the product. He said, don't waste that hour doing that. He said, do you think you can teach them how to explain the compensation plan so well and know it so thoroughly in an hour they could teach it from the front of the room with confidence? I said, no. He said, well, then don't talk about the compensation plan. He said, here's what you need to do. Do you think you could talk to them about running out and talking to people with a servant heart, caring about the other person more than themselves, so that they could just take a moment to ask the person 3 simple questions? Are you happy? Do you have a plan? Would you like to see one? Are you happy? Are there conditions in your life you wish you didn't have? If there was a product that could help you with that, would you like to see it? Great. Let me introduce you to some information or to a person who will talk to you about it. They're really the expert. You think in an hour you could teach somebody to do that? Great. Then why don't in the first hour you tell people, say, now listen, Romy, as you get started, I know there's going to be a couple of fears you're going to have because I had them. Let them know that they're not unusual, that they're normal. You're going to have a fear of talking to people about the product and this business model you just saw because you don't really understand it yet. We know that. The good news is you're not supposed to do that. In fact, if you actually try and do that, you'll actually make a mistake. I know you're a high-powered former business executive who's decided you just don't like retirement and golf and you want to get active again. Don't do what you used to do because that's not what we do here, okay? You need to pretend you're a newborn baby and take it simple. You are not supposed to teach the product or the business model on this team because we're a team. We have product experts, you just saw them, and we have business model experts, you just saw them. That's what we do. You're supposed to become an expert in the following thing, and let me teach you how to converse with people and ask 3 questions. And by the way, the other thing that is going to bother you at times is as you've gotten excited, you think this is so special. You think everybody's going to say yes. Let me tell you something. You're actually a very special person. You're in a very elite group. You're what we call our 25 to 30 percenters because only about 25 or 30% of the people who ever see this model should be interested enough to want to even try it. It is for you because you saw it and it triggered the things in you that you realize this is a great thing for you to try. So understand, you're a part of the club. Congratulations. We're only looking for the 25 to 30. 70 to 80% of the people who see this should say no. You should hope they do, because it's really not the best for them. And if you really want to serve them, this isn't best for them. But they should see it. We need to leave that choice to them, but they should see it. But let them choose. And don't be upset if they disagree with your choice because it doesn't make sense to them. This isn't about them. It's about giving them the chance to make a choice. But just know that most of the people should say no. And he said, why wouldn't you have that conversation in the first hour so all of a sudden they don't fear no's because they already knew? Well, going in, tell them up front, this probably isn't the right plan for them, but you'll leave that choice out of love and respect for them to them. You just want them to understand it before they make that decision. He said, why didn't you have a culture that does that with brand new people? That's the very first conversation for about 15 minutes when somebody first enrolls, so that they understand. Now, to get you started, we don't want you doing everything all at once on your first day. So what we're going to do is we're going to help you learn through action the proper way to get product in people's hands. We call it the hot market system. So what I'd like you to do over the next 24 hours is I'd like you to take this information. I'd like you to go through your cell phone, and I'd like you to pick easily. You'll probably have 35 or 40 people that you consider your hot market. I'd like you to take 10, only 10. Take this information card. It's so self-explanatory. This is so kindergarten simple, you can do it without messing it up. So follow it exactly as it says, whether by phone call or text. Go do this with 10 people. Now, by the way, you may have most of them not interested. That's okay. This is the learning part. This isn't the achieving result part. This is the learning part. So out of your 40, just do 10, because then you and I are going to talk again tomorrow about it, and then we'll adjust, because out of the last 30, you'll crush it. Promise. Happens every time. So just do this first. Let's talk tomorrow. Why would I give them that as a first step? Because anybody can do that with very little effort, because I want them to get into the doing, not thinking mode, learning by doing, not learning then doing, and I want them to do it with something that is safe. So I started my first 15 minutes with an orientation conversation saying, I already know the fears you're going to have. You aren't supposed to be doing those things. You're not supposed to be talking about the product and teaching it. You go to your hot market, you present a proposal, and they either say, yes, you can count on me to support you in this project for the next 30 days, or no, I don't have to teach the product. Here's the little blurb, that's it. So in other words, what happens is, because you know that's what people will do, the entire team culture is when someone enrolls, if you're brand new, don't have this conversation with them. If you're brand new and a friend enrolls, immediately put them on the phone with one of us in the first 12 hours, because we're going to teach you how to have the first 15-minute conversation. You're going to learn it by listening to us do it. Do not have a new person enroll and go longer than 24 hours before one of your team coaching people does this. Or then if you can't, if your team's growing so fast, record something, whatever you need to do. That's what we did. We started teaching the team, here's not how you get someone to enroll. Here's when someone chooses to enroll. Here's what you do with them immediately. And which is gear them away from what their natural instinct will be and point them immediately towards what will not be their instinct, but what will be a safe and protective environment, so that we don't get them shot and they don't die in the emergency room 90 days later. They're like, hey, this has been fun. And they wake up one day as a blue diamond and say, I don't know, I never had a problem. This business seems so simple. So that's how I would approach it, is you gotta think all the way through. And when that becomes your team culture, you watch your numbers go, and it'll be crazy, silly fun.
Yeah, I like the part about the excitement. It has to be stronger than the knowledge as well.
Yeah. Yeah. When the fear gets greater than the excitement, you kill them.
Yeah.
If you just take them away, say, I know what you're going to be afraid of. Here are the 3 things. Guess what? These 2 you're not supposed to be doing, and this one is supposed to happen. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of people saying no. Say, thank goodness they said no. Whew. Only thing worse than you saying no is if you said yes. Wow. So that's okay.
So are you up for taking any questions?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to keep everybody muted. So down on the left-hand side of your screen. You can unmute yourself if you have any questions.
So now, Curtis,
Yes.
I just signed someone up tonight. Will you talk to them tomorrow?
No, but Romy's going to, or somebody will. And
Uh-huh.
remember what it is. Remember what we said. 2 reasons people quit in 90 days. They're afraid of explaining the product of the business, and they know they aren't good at it, or afraid of people saying no. You let them know instantly. We have all the systems to follow that will protect you. Do not talk about the product of the business. Instead, follow this and let one of the team members, I'll talk about the product. So-and-so will talk about the business. Here's what you do. You'll learn how by watching us. So please don't go do this. It's not the best way to create the result. Take that fear away. And by the way, 70 to 80% that we share the business with should say no to it. So it's okay when people say it's not for them. That doesn't mean it's not for you, because you've seen what they might not see. And so that conversation is the most important conversation you'll have. Immediately engage them in hot market, and then start slowly working them through. Remember, that's why you make lists. You want people, when they get started, to go into positive reinforcement, confidence building, successful action. Making lists is important. The warm market list with every name on it, but the hot market list, all the people with H's. Who would pick you up at 3 in the morning if your car broke down? And who would you go pick up at 3 in the morning if their car broke down? That's your hot market. Make those H's so that if they're in, don't go into the wrong action, actually communicating with people. Real quick, make a list of folks. One of the other reasons you want people to do that, if somebody won't even make a list, then you've identified someone that probably needs less of your time. Because if you've asked the right questions, would you like to be successful? Yes. Would you like to be successful in a small or a large way? In a large way. Would you like to be able to do so with the least amount of frustration? Yes. Would you like to do so with the least frustration in the shortest period of time? Yes. Then here's the process we follow. Because now I can say, but Iris, you told me you wanted to be successful in the largest way with the least effort in the shortest period of time. Why are you not doing what we shared are the steps to do that? Now you can hold them accountable in an adult way. So you want to get to that new person as rapidly as possible, and it can be a fun conversation. It doesn't have to be terrifying. I mean, it should be fun. Listen, I know there are 3 fears you're going to have talking about the product, talking about business, or people saying no. People should say no, and you shouldn't be talking about the product or business. So there you go. You don't need to be afraid of anything right now, because number 2, you want to be successful, large, small, great, fast, slow, great, least effort or most effort, great. Then here's how we do it. Let's make a couple lists real quick. Now, take the hot market. Out of the 43 names you've got, do 10, stop there, call me. Boom. You're getting them into action without extensive learning first. That now creates a culture of action, learn. Not learn, action, action, learn. And when that happens, say, great, here's the next step. Oh, you got 7 out of 10 to say yes. Don't need my help at all. Keep going. Hot market the rest of them. Get through all 43. Now let's start, because then as you create that success story, as you know with the previous trainings. Great. Now let's go back. Let's talk about prospecting opportunity and how you have conversations, 3 questions, pointed information. And get out of the way. You don't talk about the product or the business. You talk to them about where they are, who they are, what they want, what they don't have. If they don't have a plan, would they like to see one? That's it. Tell them your story of your hot market success, and now move on. In other words, it's that simple. Okay? So you're right. You got somebody new, immediately allay their fears, give them simple action steps. But that's what I always did. Every new person, I say, I want to share some things with you. I need to ask some questions, because it's always your choice. Your business is always your choice. I respect you and I respect it. Would you like to be successful? Would you like to be successful in a large way or a small way? I know you have limited time. It's only part-time. That's okay. Would you like to be successful with the least amount of effort, headache, and frustration? Okay. And would you like to have the least amount of headache, frustration in the shortest period of time, given that you have limited time, or would you like to be frustrated over the longest period of time? Which would you prefer? Great. Now that we have this, because I let you answer. I didn't pick the answer. Now that we know you want to be successful in the largest possible way with the least amount of frustration in the shortest period of time, given your limited part-time time, then here is how you make that happen. And if you vary from this, then you are acting in opposition to what you just told me is your goal. So here's what we're going to do together. Boom, boom, boom. Now, if they choose not to do what you've outlined for them, then their actions are not in alignment with their desires, and that's that you can touch base with them. But if they continue to make that choice, that's not someone who's worthy of your time. You let them remain in group, because say, I will work with you one-on-one for as long as you'll just let me help. Jerry Maguire, help me help you. But if you told me this is what you want, and you won't follow the path. How's that work? So there you go. That's what you do. All right?
You betcha. Thank you.
Anybody else?
That's why, by the way, Iris, I know you're going to get to elite really quick. Boom. As soon as you get there, crank it out. Just duplicate it.
Thank you, Curtis.
Absolutely, Karina. How are you?
Good.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, there you go. That's it.
So that was amazing. I loved hearing your story, and I loved having it blend in with the teaching and the training that goes along with it. That was really good. Loved that. And I'm going to go back.
Let me share one last thought really fast as we wrap this up. Here's how my mentor then worked with me. Here's literally how he worked with me. Once, because he did the same thing. At the end of lunch, when he decided, when he said he'll mentor me, he asked me a million questions like that. You have no idea how many times, how massively over the next 90 days, every other day, he was pulling up those questions saying, Curtis, you told me. You told me. I didn't answer I asked the question. You freely gave the answer. You told me, you told me. The power of those questions, it holds someone accountable. We want to have fun here. We really do. And you want to have a fun, blissful, joyous team. But we're also adults, and it's accountability, because you have a limited amount of time in your life, and you have to choose you have to give your time not where it's needed, but where it's deserved. That's the difference in network marketing. As you lead, proper leaders in traditional business, you focus your time and effort where it's needed, on the weakest person, because you're trying to strengthen the organization, because you have to make the result happen. In network marketing, it is choice. I don't provide time to those who need it. I provide time to those who deserve it. Because had those who need the help chosen to follow the path, they would be deserving. It's not about result you're achieving. It's, are you committed to the right process? If you need to make a list and you won't make it, you don't deserve my time. So you already know what you need to do. Occasionally, why aren't you helping me? I asked you to make the list and you didn't make it. Until you do, you don't deserve my time. Because you got to understand, Romy and Iris and Corinna, they made their list instantly, and they deserve my time. So if you would like my time, you want to know why I'm not helping you? You're not following the process. I love you. I'm glad you love the product. I love seeing you at the meetings. But if you want personal time, you have to earn that. And you don't earn that by your result. You earn it by your effort. Because with the right efforts, the results will come. And I will give you all the time in the world as long as you commit to the effort. So that what he used to do is we would establish what the task was, and he would put me in his appointment book as to when I told him I would have it done. And he would have a little 5-minute touch point call with me. If I ever went through 2 appointments and not accomplished what I had committed I was going to do, he always took me out of it. But because I asked him, I said, well, how do I get thrown out of your book? He said, you don't get thrown out of my book. You take yourself out of my appointment book. And if you weren't in his appointment book, he would never speak to you ever again, except in group. Because you're in his book, because that's when I'm supposed to speak to you personally again. Because you're making the list. Great. We're going to follow up. Now we're going to talk about the list. Then once we've done what we need to do with the list, now you're going to execute an action. And here's what happened. He literally would put, if 2 times I showed up, he'd say, Curtis, obviously things have come up. And, timing is an issue at the moment. You know what you need to do. When you're done with this step, call me and we'll set an appointment time to review. And he would never call me ever again. He never pestered me. He never, well, why isn't Iris inviting people to meeting? Does it really matter? It's Iris's choice. It's her life. If she chooses to, she will. And so what he would do is I would be able to, we all attended the conference calls, the Zoom things, etc. But I'd never get one-on-one time. Because if I saw him at a meeting, he'd say, have you done the next step? Oh, well, then call me when you have. And that was it. Now, I never got out of his book. A couple of times where literally it was just, and even he understood. I really had a family issue come up or something. So he said, great, well, let me pull you out of the book. But that's different. But that's how he did it. And people, once they realized it, that's how it worked. It was a very simple fun, because it was fun and easy. He never beat anybody up. And in fact, that was his attitude. He said, Curtis, just because I'm choosing to be a full-time, flat-out network marketing maniac, why would I expect other people to do that? That's their choice. If I have a whole group now after 35 years of doing this, of full-time, flat-out maniacs, but that's the few of us who chose that. He said, just because someone doesn't choose to be that doesn't make them less of a person. And it doesn't mean I respect them any less or love them any less. I love them and I respect them completely. They're making different choices than I am. That's okay. But in my choice to be a monster team leader, I have to give my personal time to those who are choosing the right efforts. But that doesn't mean I think less of you. So if you don't accomplish it, call me when you have. And he said, very rarely would people call back. They just chose their way out of my book. And that's okay too. He said, but a few have. So that was the last thing I would share with you. That's how he actually ran his business. He would, with tremendous, he was such a compassionate, he could be hardcore. He could be very firm if you deserved it and needed it. But he was such a huge-hearted, true servant leader. And it was entirely your choice. You got into his book, you could get great mentoring. You could stay there all the way through triple black diamond or whatever. You could go all the way. Because as long as you stayed in his book, he kept taking you through every step. But he had a precision with how he chose to focus his time. But he said, but every new member of my team, when it was just me and I got started, I did it. But as the team grew, every new member, we had that special first 15-minute conversation, and the rest of the 45 minutes was a simple set of action steps they could immediately engage with if they chose to do so. And then we left the choices to them. And our responses were based on their choices. And that becomes then a fun way to lead a team. And it's a great way to do it. Okay?
I loved that explanation. I'm going back and listening to it and writing down more notes.
Okay.
That was
all right.
great.
There you go. Love you guys.
Love you. Thank you very much. Really, really appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Talk to you later.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.